Hello, audience. Hello, speakers. How is everyone doing today? My name is Eduardo. I am a events manager here at Modern Sales Pros, and I'm so excited about this event because we'll be talking about really integration. And we have the brightest minds in the business here today to help you, audience, with all your billing questions that you might have. If you're new here, I work for Modern Sales Pros, and we are the world's trying to use leadership corporation. So we're all about taking the road less travel and bringing you along in the journey with us. Our mission is to help you tackle tough questions and discover opportunities you might not even know exist. And we do this through vibrant live sessions like this one you're about to experience. We have an engaging online forum and our must-attend summits. We just had one in November in the Netherlands and February. And we are expanding to today event at one coming up tomorrow in San Francisco in New York City. I'm going to put this link in the chat for you to sign up. And there is also a ticker going on in the bottom of the page where you can sign up. If you're not part of MSP yet, I will send an email for you right after this event to invite you to join this meeting. Is my audio better now, Brendan? Or any of that? No. Better? Can you hear me? Good? Awesome. Before we jump in, quick heads up that we are recording this session and we have some interactive elements to it. So please ask questions to our panelists and they will be happy to answer using the chat. For today, we have two partners. We have Conga and Synthesis as our partners. And if you like what they're saying here today, there's a request a demo with our sponsor button at the top of this page. But for right now, I'm going to pass the mic to Tessa. Tessa, please introduce yourself and let the audience know what Conga and Synthesis is all about. And I'm going to be backstage taking notes, but you can take it from here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that awesome intro, Eduardo. Once again, we're super excited to have you guys here today. My name's Tessa Ginn. I'm calling in as the Partner Marketing Manager here at Conga. And I'm so excited to have my partners, Matthew and Praneeth, here with me as well. We have a great presentation for you today. We're going to be talking to you about mastering CPQ and billing integration. So this is such a hot topic right now, especially as we dive into an exceedingly connected world and a world where quoting, contracting, pricing is so integral to the streamlining of your business. And I have two great experts here with me today. I'm joined by Matthew Vanderheijen from Synthesis and Praneeth Bhavi from Conga. We've got a great agenda for you here today. We're going to do a conversation about the state of the state, letting you know just a little bit about how we are approaching all things CPQ based, as well as the current state of everything as a service. I'm also excited to have Matthew and Praneeth together to do a wonderful demo of Conga CPQ and Conga billing. And we've got a lot of content to cover, so I don't want to take any more of your time. I'd rather hand it off to my wonderful experts. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to Francis Anthony, who is here today helping us with any of the Q&As that you might have. He's here to answer your burning questions, as well as me. So two encouragements before we jump into Matthew and Praneeth's amazing content. As Eduardo noted, that requested demo is at the top, and we would love to have further conversations with you. We're definitely going to do a deep dive today into Conga billing and Conga CPQ, but as much as that presentation is going to be into the nitty gritty, it's wonderful, it's meaty, there's still so much to talk about. So if this conversation hits you with a real Jones in to talk to us some more, please hit that request a demo button. And then we've also highlighted some great documents about Conga and Synthesis in the doc slide. But with that said, we've got a lot to talk about today. And I know that Matthew is the ringleader and the expert today that's going to kick us off. Thank you so much for joining us today, Matthew. Tell us what we're going to talk about today and why we're on this webinar today.
Thank you, Tessa. Yes, we're doing this webinar to explain you more about the subscription industry where we're in, and it's really a big part. It's a growing industry, and it's not only me who is saying that. I just selected some quotes from research companies. And for example, you see here 86% of consumers are active subscribers. 42% of consumers have 5 to 9 subscription. And what you see in that graph over there, it is only growing. And you as a business, and if you want to be a part of that subscription economy and work with it, you need to have the right applications, platforms in place to support that. And in our opinion, the two key parts of that, what you need to have in place as systems is CPQ, configure price quote, and the right billing system. And they really need to talk to each other in the same language. The pricing and the pricing attributes that you have need to be understood by that billing platform and the other way around. And that's also what we're going to show you today by showing Conga CPQ and Conga billing. So what has changed over time? So in the past, we had a lot, it was very simple, just a one-time payment. You created a quote, it became an order, you send an invoice, customer pays you, you receive it in your accounts receivable, and you're done. But now with subscriptions, or in the subscription economy, it's more complex. Now you have to deal, or your systems have to deal with recurring billing. You have different intervals. It could be monthly, weekly, quarterly, annually. You have to, because not everything starts in the beginning of the month. You have, your bills need to be prorated. Your beginning bill and your end bill needs to be prorated. You have partial billing. Depending on the products or services that you're selling, you have to deal with usage-based billing. You have to deal with renewals. Of course, there's always tax calculation, payment processing, and because of all these different attributes that are added because of subscriptions, also your reporting requirements are now different. To come back to renewals, for example, in your reporting, you want to see those renewals coming back where you have maybe a 90, 60 and a 30-day plan to go back to your customer and talk about the renewal. So more than a decade ago, it started, I think the majority started in IT, where, for example, you had software as a service, as that anything as a service. And think about it. In those days, you didn't buy a subscription, you bought licenses, and a lot of times that was on premise. And nowadays, I think almost all the software that you're buying is software as a service. It's hosted somewhere. And that's the same with platform, infrastructure, storage, etc. So they were kind of the front runner. IT was a kind of the front runner of that industry, what you're seeing now, or that part of the economy that you see now. What we are seeing is in the last decade, it's not only IT, but also other industries are adopting the same thing. And there's a reason for that, because that subscription economy or anything as a service, it's a nice steady stream of revenue for a company, and it's very predictable. But not only that, there are also additional benefits. Because it's subscription, it needs to be renewed. You have constantly contact with your customers. You maybe can upsell or upgrade or maybe cross-sell something. You can talk to them about what their future plans are. So it's also a nice contact point that you have over there. And what do we see? For example, equipment as a service. Think about Caterpillar or Komatsu. Their equipment, it's also nowadays a part of their equipment is also subscription based. You can subscribe to it. Or food or clothing or fitness. Think about Peloton. Or content, for example, Zoom meetings, Netflix, etc. So it is not only IT anymore, like it was in the past, but we see more and more it's also growing in non-IT industry. What I did here is I just wanted to kind of go back to the basics, because we're talking about that subscription part. Well, where does it fit in? So I created here, and you can create probably many different slides of this, how to interpret this. But what you see in the middle is that Q2C, quote to cash flow, where you start with a quote, and in that quote you probably go to the catalog, select some products and services. If they're a little bit more complex, you have to configure it. You apply the pricing that's already there in your price list, etc. From there, you create a quote, probably, hopefully, becomes an order, and from there it goes to the billing system, or it will accepted by the billing system, and you will create your invoices. What we're showing today will be Conga CPQ and Conga billing, although on the billing side it could also be other billing applications, and Conga CPQ is definitely able to integrate with other billing systems as well. And of course, we at Synthesis are more than happy to help you with that. What I did also around it, there are also a lot of supporting systems or additional systems or applications. For example, before you go into a quote, a lot of times you start in a CRM system, or maybe you go through a website or a portal to create that quote or that shopping cart. You have an e-signature solution that probably will help you with signing the contract or that quote that you created, an order management system for fulfillment, asset management, and a contract system could play a role, an ERP system for if you need to manufacture based on the order and you need to manufacture something on the shop floor. And of course, ERP also holds all the financial information. And then you have also renewals. The ones that are highlighted over here, that are all the ones that we're going to touch on today. So in our demo that we're going to do, and this is, I promise, the last slide before the demo. Our demo has two parts. That first part is an initial quote that I will create, and then from there we do the order and the billing part. I will create that proposal. I select some products in the catalog, and here you see a list of the products that I'm going to select, and also the attributes that come with it, if it is standalone, a bundle, one-time recurring subscription, or a usage product. I will apply a discount. We generate a proposal document, send it out for signatures, and then we'll create an order. From there, we're going to switch over to billing, and we'll see of that quote, and then it became an order, how that will affect the billing part. So Praneet will walk through that, see the different billing schedules for the different products. We're doing something around that consumption of that usage products, and we're going to also create an invoice, or at least explain that invoicing process. Then we have a second part, but it is building on what we just did. So on the order that we created, we're going to change now certain things, and that is something, I think that's a really nice feature of Conga CPQ. We're going to do asset-based ordering. So of the existing assets that we have at that customer, we're going to make some changes, a termination, a renewal, and we exchange that configuration. And after that, we're also going back to the billing part and see what the consequences are for that. So let's go to the demo. So give me 1 second. I need to switch over to my Conga CPQ system. So here we are in Conga CPQ. This is our home screen, and depending on who you are in the system, this home screen can change. Just a quick walk around here. I have here my quick links on the top, on the upper right corner. I have some graphs that you see over there with also where I can go in detail into the reporting that's behind it. I have some actions required or things that need attention. And if there are items to approve, I also will see that here in this screen. In this case, I'm going to use one of those quick links and start a proposal. I don't have any proposals in here, so I'll start a new one. And in this proposal, one thing that's also important to mention, everything that we're doing here in the demo is out of the box. Nothing is customized. Everything that you see is here configurable. And for example, here in this quote, you see, or in this quote header that I have to fill out, you see many fields, but not all of them we're going to use. And what I always see in implementations that we're doing, a lot of customers also add a bunch of new fields that are important for their business. So let's start to fill out some of those fields that I really need. We have already created an opportunity before. We need to have a price list associated with this. It's that tier 1 hardware and software price list. The start date will be the 19th. The end date will also be the 19th, but a year out. This proposal is valid till, let's say, till the end of the week. I will give it a name. My contact at the customer is Diego Francis. And here I'm done with filling out the most important fields that I need for the rest of the demo. Save this. Now I'm coming in my quote header. And from there, I have here on the right-hand side my quote actions. And again, that could be different depending on the role that you have in the system. So I'm going to configure products, and what that means is I'm going to the catalog of the system. Also, this catalog is completely configurable. Of course, every customer has, or every organization has different catalogs. You can have as many categories in there as you want. You can have that search, you have that search field over here. But in this case, I'm going to keep it relatively simple. I'm going to select a printer. This is a one-time product that I'm going to add to my cart. Then I'm going back to my catalog and select something in networking. I have here that access point that I'm going to add to my cart. Going back to the catalog. And from there, I'm going in my software category. And within that category, in the sales CRM category, here I will select sales corporate. And in the background now, there's a rule running, a constraint rule that tells me, hey, you also need, this is kind of that guided selling. Hey, you also need to select one of these plans. And in this case, I'm going to add that plan to the cart. And the last thing I'm going to do over here, I have something called a Team Edition. This is a configurable product. So let's click on that configure button. It will bring me to the configuration piece and page. And this is a really simple one, but we can handle very complex models or bundles with even configurable products inside configurable products with multiple tabs. Here, for purpose of just this, because we just want to show you CPQ and billing, we want to keep it very simple. And all I'm going to do over here is select that additional custom application. Once that is done, I'm done with this configuration. I'm going to what we call over here, go to pricing. That means I'm going to my shopping cart. Here are the products that I just configured. I can even drill down in the components that make up that Team Edition. What I also see over here is a recommendation. It tells me, it recommends me to add that portal infrastructure. That's what I'm going to add to my cart. And that portal infrastructure, that is that usage product that you will see later coming back in the billing part. So I'm now complete with this, with the cart. One thing I want to do is also make an adjustment. I want to give this one a 10% discount. Here you also see that it's not only a percentage discount adjustment that we can do. There are many different adjustments that you can do. What I see in the real world, when we do our implementations, we never see all of them, that everybody has access to all of them. There's only a handful discounts or adjustments that companies typically use. They typically don't use all of them. Here I keep it simple, just a 10% discount that I'm going to enter over here. Sorry, I need to select it. I need to put in 10% discount, apply that, and reprice it. And that will, once I do that, it will change the $2,000 to $1,800 with a 10% discount on it. Couple of things I also want to point out while we're here in this cart or in this list. These are really nice features that Conga CPQ offers. I really like always that collaboration button that you see for these lines. What you do, or what you can do over here is, if you're not 100% sure that you selected the right product or you selected the right options in the configuration, you always can go, or for example, you're relatively new to the company, you can reach out to your colleagues, to engineering or to your manager, and you can assign this line to them. They take over ownership of that line. They can make changes in price, they can make changes in the configuration, and then send it back to you. So it always stays in the system and it's completely traceable. It's not a bunch of emails that go outside of the system. You really can stay in the system. Again, for the purpose of this demo, we're not going to do that here, but I just wanted to point that out. One other thing I want to point out is that what we call deal guidance over here. Also like that, this is something that helps your salespeople to stay within the guardrails of, for example, the discounts that you can give within the company, what was agreed upon upfront. You still can go over those guardrails, but then probably if it is configured correctly, it will trigger some approval flows. And that's, by the way, a thing that we're not going to do in this demo, approval flows, but Conga definitely has a really good approval functionality where it can go in parallel or serial, and you can do ad hoc approvals, etc. Last thing I want to show over here, which is also, I think, a really nice feature before we finalize this, is you can analyze the quote. You have it in two formats. You have here a kind of graphic waterfall format, and the same information you see over here on the right-hand side in a table format. For example, that 10% discount, that is something that is showing up over here. And you see also the cost. And of course, you can add more of these cost factors, maybe transportation or storage costs. So you really can see the margin, the total margin for each of those line items. So let's go back to pricing and let's finalize this, the card that we have over here. And that will bring us back to the quote header. There's one more thing I want to do in here before we gonna generate the proposal document. I want to create a billing plan because that printer, let me select a new one. For that printer, they want to pay in installments, and we have a template for that. Let me select that one, and here's the printer. And when I click next, you will see in a sec what I mean with the different installments. So that printer of $1,800, they will pay the first part will be, let me highlight that. The first part, the first installment will be a 10%, second installment 40%, and the last installment will be the remaining 50%. That's how it will be billed to that customer. Reason why I want to do that over here, because this also, of course, what I mentioned earlier, needs to be reflected, and the billing system needs to be able to absorb this information as well once we go to billing. So let's finish this one. And let's go back to our the quote or proposal that we're working on. Next step that I have to do, I don't have to do any approvals because there weren't any. I want to generate the document that we're going to send to our customer. And this, it's generating now that proposal. We created already a template, and that's what you typically will have in Xorder. That is a plugin in Microsoft created by Conga. And you can have multiple of those templates. Here I have only one, so that's why it has started generating it immediately. But otherwise, I maybe would have a choice. For example, you want to have a template where you can show all the detailed pricing, and maybe you want to have another template for different markets or different customers where you only show the summary of the prices. So let's take a look at what we just generated. And here you see that document that we're going to send to the customer. It is pulling in the information from the quote, the name of the company, ABC Corporation, that's our customer. And here you see the different products that we selected or services that we selected with the related information, including pricing in here. And then on the bottom for that portal infrastructure, that is a usage product. You also see here the product usage rate tiers as well. And again, you will see that later back when we go to billing. Next thing I want to do, go back to the proposal. I want to send it to our customer so he can sign it. So I click on that e-signature button icon, and what we're using over here is Conga Sign, but of course you also can use other e-signature products. Let me send it now, and it's already this is something I'm doing this now manually, but it definitely could be automated. But I just wanted to show it to you how that works in the background. It's going to Diego Francis, which happened to have my email address, so I can show it also to you in that email when I receive that email, and I can sign it. And here is the document that is included in that email. So let's send that. And within seconds, I will receive a notification that I did get an email to sign the document. So let's go over there. Here it is. And let's take a look at that document. And we'll try to sign it. It will first tell me that I agree with the electronic record and signature disclosure. So select on I agree. Let's start on that. And again, it pulled in all that information from the quote. The only thing I need to do here is add that signature. And as you can see, the name is already there. His title is there. And the date is today's date that you see here. So let's complete signing. It will tell me that there will be confirmation email that I will receive. And let's go back to our quote header. Once I receive that email, and that means the system also gets then a notification. Here it is. The system also gets a notification that that happened. I need to refresh my page because I want to tell the system now I accepted, or the customer accepted the quote. And when I click that accept button, what happens in the background? It will generate an order. It will tell me in a second. And once that order is created, then in this case, I'm going to hand it over to Praneeth because of this order. He will tell you exactly what happened in the back, or not in the background, but what happened in the billing system. So Praneeth, please go ahead.
Right. Thanks, Matthew. Just give me a quick second so that I can share my screen. Yeah.
No problem. We did have a question in the chat while you're pulling that up, Praneeth. Saurabh asked us a great question about margin amounts. Is that something that we would like to talk about while we're pulling that up?
Yeah, what's the question?
The question is, what is margin amount here? So if that's not enough to go on, maybe we'll ask Saurabh to just clarify a little bit, and we can definitely answer that in part 2.
Yeah, I can answer that a little bit. Margin always depends on what exactly is meant, but here it is basically the cost of the product minus all the other the sales price of the product where you sell it for, minus all the costs, including discounts, etc. So whatever is left over, that's in this case what here the margin is. But again, I've learned in my long implementation experience that different companies use different have different interpretation of that terminology.
Love it. Yeah, if there's anything we can clarify for you there, Saurabh, we've definitely got time carved out at the end, so feel free to drop any clarifying questions in the Q&A. But until that point, Praneeth, I think we're off to you to talk about billing now.
All right, perfect. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, wonderful. So Matthew, as a sales rep, he has done everything that the customer wants. So he went on to Conga CPQ, and then he did configure the products and services that the customer wants, along with a pricing that is agreeable to the customer, right? And then that information was shared to the customer via a document, and then and also it was signed by both the parties. That means both the seller as well as the customer, both are in agreement with respect to the value that is derived from those products and services, along with the product configuration and pricing. So all that culminated in this hard work of this proposal getting accepted, and then it creating an order automatically. So if you're looking into my screen, you see that the Conga, the CPQ has called up Conga order management, and then it did create this particular order. And in fact, you can see that this order is already activated. Why that is activated means Conga as a product has the capability to create an order in this draft status or in an activated status. So different customers or their Salesforce admins can configure the application in the way that they want it. Now, in this particular case, ABC Corporation, they don't have anything to really do a lot of provisionment or fulfillment, etc. So therefore, they believe that there is really no reason for the order to go through one more round of processing when all this hard work is already done at the CPQ stage. It is for that reason this particular order is configured to be activated the moment it gets created, and therefore it is activated. So now let's try to understand what happens after this. Now, let's say if I'm a sales operations specialist or a billing analyst, and when I log into the Conga application, and I may have this kind of view where I might come directly into the order management. And if I refresh the screen, I can see the same order that has been created by Matthew. See that the order is 142, and I can see the same from my orders dashboard. So if you go with, regardless of whether you go through the proposal or through the orders, thanks to the single data model, all information is accessible to all at all places, depending upon the permissions that you could configure in your Salesforce application. So if I go to this order, as I was mentioning, the status is activated. All the information related to the customer account, it populated, it cascaded from Conga CPQ to order management automatically. And you can see the proposal reference. And by the way, Conga also has a robust CLM product. So if the customer wants a process where they want to create an agreement in between the quoting stage versus the ordering stage, they are free to do so. Here for today's demo, we have not done it, but the customers can opt to create an agreement, do the redlining of those products and services in an agreement document, and then activate that agreement. And again, the output will be the same as what you're seeing on the screen. So regardless of whether you have a CPQ based flow or a CLM based flow or a flow involving both CPQ and CLM, Conga as a product is flexible to handle all of it. And you can also, if I scroll down further, you can also see that this order, in fact, has already been built. So by using this particular field called ready for billing date, I can sense that this particular order is built. Again, Conga as a product and application is configured to handle all these things on a manual way, or by using API calls, or by using auto activation out of the box. Now, if I bring your kind attention to these order line items, so again, everything that Matthew configured for ABC Corporation has cascaded from quote to the order line items like this. And if you notice, there is something called as asset line item that is created. So this particular, I'm going to explain you in the part 2 on why this asset line items is of such a significant importance for the overall revenue lifecycle management of a subscription. But for time being, please understand that Conga also creates this particular set of record. Usually in this, even in ERP, if you have seen customer assets or install base record, it is the same concept here as well in Conga. So asset line item is nothing but a copy of the order line item, and it contains the same information of an order line item, which is a product, pricing, etc. But it will give you a lot more window related to billing, invoicing, etc., which we are going to see now. So at first, I'm going to open this access point as an asset line item, and then see what happened with respect to billing. You can access this billing schedules even from order, but I'm purposefully going in to also explain you the aspects of revenue lifecycle management in part 2. So this particular access point is a one-time product by definition, and that is what it came from CPQ via order management to billing, and therefore billing engine, Conga billing engine automatically created a single schedule, and the full amount will be invoiced to the customer whenever it is ready. Right now, you see that the status is not invoiced yet. So essentially, if it is a one-time product, Conga billing will create a single billing schedule. Now let's move on to the other assets and then see what billing has done. So now let me get your attention to this printer. So if you recollect, Matthew has created a custom payment plan for the customers Although this is a one-time product, but then Matthew has created something called as billing plan with 10%, 40%, and 50% of the amounts to be distributed across 3 different milestones. Let's see if Conga billing has generated those schedules accordingly or not. As you can see, installment 1 to 3 are created with the different fee amounts, 10% of 1800 and 40% and 50% of 1800, etc. So this means Conga as a billing engine is able to also handle the custom payments with varying payment terms if the customer wants it that way. Now let's see one more variation. Here, I'm going to bring your attention to something called as Theme Edition. Now this is a bundle product containing components underneath it. And here, this is a recurring product. So if I now bring your attention to the billing schedules, you can see that the billing engine has created billing schedules like this. Here, the first month of December from 12/19 to 12/31 is prorated, whereas from January 1st onwards, throughout the rest of the contract term, they are created as monthly billing schedules. So why, on what basis Conga billing has picked up January 1st and for February 1st or March 1st, etc., as a period starting date? So this will be governed by something called as billing preference. This is a key setup for the entire subscription system. So this billing preference, or call it as billing policy, this it mentions that as a seller, so the seller always wants to invoice the customer on the first of every month, or the other way also around is possible, where the customer prefers to receive the invoice on first of every month. In either of the cases, the finance admin or Salesforce admin can configure a policy like this inside Conga modules and then have it selected as activated and defaulted. And whenever the quote is created, nobody needs to do a thing. It automatically gets picked up by the engine and then it defaults onto the proposal. Likewise, the billing administrator or the finance admin can configure different policies for different customer accounts and then have it populated at the accounts object in the Salesforce. And therefore, whenever the quote is issued, let's say for ABC Corporation, the engine is smart enough to pick up either the global level default policy or the customer specific policy that is defined at the accounts level. So the engine is smart enough. In this case, it is done in both ways. It is for that reason it picked up that particular policy. Based on that, the cascading impact is that when the billing schedules are created, the periods are automatically defined that way. So therefore, the engine is flexible to be done at the global level as well as at the account level. And also you can see that the fee amount is prorated, like for these small number of days, few number of days in December, the fee amount is lower. Whereas for full month, whether it is January or February or March, you see that, or April, regardless of the number of days, the fee amount is consistent. This is something again, like quite standard out of the box. So this is all about the one-time or recurring products. Now let's talk about the usage product. Obviously, this is going to be the next big wave of the the implementation that is going to happen in the industry, because a lot of customers, similarly how they move from one-time to recurring, now there is a shift where the customers are trying to also bring upon this consumption or the usage-based billing into their sales cycles. And let's try to see how Conga will handle it. In this order line items, again, if you remember the CPQ flow towards the end of it, the CPQ application prompted Matthew to add portal infrastructure per unit, this as a product. So this is a usage-based product. So this will be governed by something called as price type. Again, this is a core part of Conga CPQ. So the usage products will determine how it needs to get billed by the Conga billing engine. Again, if we go to the billing schedules, here you see that right now everything is $0. The reason being that this being a usage product, Conga billing engine will expect you to enter what has been the usage consumption for this particular product. Now, how that will be done is there is this object called as usage inputs. So this for every product and service that needs to get billed to the customer. So an ordering analyst or a billing analyst, they need to come into the Conga application, and then they need to report what is the consumption for that particular product. So whatever I'm going to do now is a pure manual way, but in the real business, again, there are a lot of options for the analysts to enter this information via Salesforce data load or through API calls, etc. But I'm doing it manually so that you get an idea of what this is. So here is how a usage input screen looks like. So asset number is a unique field. In this org, it is configured to be created with the same Salesforce record ID. And therefore, I created it this way. Now, let's say for the month of December 12/19 to 12/31, there's a quantity of, let's say, 100 units are consumed by the customer. So let me save it. And you can see that the usage input is saved. Now, what are the next steps here? Now, let's say I, as a billing analyst, I want to ensure that this particular usage input is billed correctly. So therefore, I as a billing analyst, I will click on something called as draft process usage input. So what this will do is, this will contact the billing engine. And for this particular quantity of 100, what is going to be my billable amount is what it will be determined. And how is that determined? Let's go back to the asset quickly. Here, Matthew was showing to you on the CPQ document that there were 4 pricing tiers for this particular given asset. It was there towards the end of the document that was sent out to ABC Corporation. And in this pricing tiers, for a quantity from 0 to 1,000, it will be charged at $10.50 per unit. And since the usage input is said that the quantity is 100, therefore the math is simple. It's a quantity 100 multiplied by 10.5 per unit, resulting in 1,050. Now I like this. The business analyst can do for entire volume that they would enter. Again, they don't need to do the way that I did. This is available from a UI perspective, but in real time, the analysts can call the APIs and then get all that information in a jiffy for all the volume that they want to get it rated. So this is only like a part-time work. This is not a full-time. Like once I determine that everything looks correctly, if I want to make any changes to the quantity, I can do it and then I can re-rate it. I can do all those things. But in the interest of time, I'm skipping all of it. Now I'm going to the direct stage where I'm going to actually rate this. So usually this will happen at the end of the month. So the inputs will be collated throughout the billing period on a daily basis or on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. Regardless of how that is done, whenever the month end comes, this will be subjected to the actual rating process by the click of that button or by calling the corresponding API. So therefore, I got this rated amount 1,050. Now, if I go back to the asset and then refresh this page and then again bring your attention to the billing schedules, you can now see that the fee amount is updated from 0 to 1,050, and also the quantity is no longer 1, but it is like 100. So therefore, this is how Conquer billing as an engine will be able to handle the consumption pattern and then how it can get billed to the customer towards the end of the month. So far, what we have seen is how Conquer billing as an engine is able to handle the billing of different products and services, including one-time, recurring, or products having a custom payments plan, or the products with usage type. Now we'll move on to the next stage, which is, of course, invoicing them. If you're not aware, please let me make use of this occasion to let you know that Conga billing is nothing but billing plus invoicing. So again, all of you know that invoicing is a very vast and robust process. So for the sake of this particular demo, I'm just going to limit myself to the creation of an invoice without going to the rest of the steps, because that it will take another webinar. So I hope you understand it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to initiate an invoice run. This is the invoice run screen inside Conga. So this can be scheduled or this can be run immediately. For this demo, I'm going to run it immediately instead of scheduling. And there are a bunch of options that the analyst can select, the finance analyst can select. Now I'm going to limit this invoice run only for this particular order, which is order 142 that is created in this process. Normally the analyst can run it per account or a combination of account and orders. They can do all those things. Now, in this case, it is only a single order, and I want to invoice my billing for the month of December, also as well as for the month of January. The reason being that January is not very far away. Therefore, I want to get my customers' money at the earliest. So therefore, I also want to perform the invoice until January 1st. That is the kind of instruction I'm giving to the invoicing engine. So to ensure that the engine is going to that this entire submission is error free and the engine is going to pick up only this particular order, so Conga product has provided this particular button out of the box to ensure that everything is being done correctly. As you can see that it reported that it is going to select one order, which is the one that we just entered, and then it is going to create 3 different invoices, and it is going to convert 9 billing schedules into invoice lines. So everything looks okay to me. Therefore, I will click upon this run button, which in turn will submit a batch job behind the scenes. So let's wait for this batch job to finish. All right, let me go back once again to this invoice runs. Yes, it is completed. And it produced 3 different invoices. So if I just open one of them for you, so you can see that the invoice in fact is created, and for it selected all the products that are supposed to be billed for the month of December. So everything came in here, and it also in fact summarized. Like here there are different products, and it even summarized. It gave a summary in case if the customer wants it that way. And then in fact it also created a document, which again those are all several processes. I'm not going to go all of into it, but this is how the invoicing works inside Conga. Now that said, let me go back to my asset once again, refresh it, and then see if the status of the billing schedule has changed from pending billing to invoiced or not. And yes, it did. And for other products, like let's say Team Edition, which is a recurring product, if you look into the billing schedules, it invoiced the December month also as the January month. So this is how Conga billing works. And this is again not the end. This is the end of part 1 demo. Part 2 demo is going to be even more exciting, and in fact it is the culmination of the revenue lifecycle management. Again, I'm going to request Matthew to take us through the ABO side of the things before we come back to the billing side. Matthew, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Praneeth. Let me share my screen. Give me 1 sec.
No problem. And thank you to everybody who's put some really great questions into our Q&A. Like we noted, we've got 2 parts here. We're jumping into part 2. I know we've only got about 10 minutes left in today's webinar, but we want to make sure we get to part 2 here. So we're going to do the speed round of part 2 and try and save just a few minutes at the end to answer your questions. So please stick around. We will get to them and answer as many as we can. If for some reason we don't answer them, I will make sure that we answer those on a direct email to you on the back end after this session today. So Matthew, over to you for part 2, the speed round.
Okay, thank you, Tessa. Well, this is, yes, this is the last part, the second part, but I think personally this is the coolest part of everything that we're going to demo today. So what we did in part 1, I created an order, and when I created that order, it automatically created the assets for this account, in this case, ABC Corporation. So if I go to that account, ABC Corporation, and I go to my asset manager, I see now all the products and services that they bought from us. And what the cool part is that I can now make changes to what they bought. If they want to terminate something, if they, for example, that configuration that we did, if they want to change something in that configuration, we can do that in here. If they want to make some other changes, they also can do that. You will see that in a sec. So let me first select that access point. That's something they want to terminate, and that's what you see now showing up. Once I select one, they could renew. In this case, it's not renewable because but they also can terminate it, they can swap it, they can relate it, or they can change it. And I will use some of them for the different products that we're going to change. So in this case, the access point we're going to terminate. I'm going to terminate that on the 19th, confirm that. And what it will do, it will create now in the background a quote. I am now, maybe you recognize this. This is my card for this new quote that I'm going to create. And from here, I still have access to my installed products. A lot of CPQ applications don't have that asset-based ordering capability. And to have that asset-based order capability is one thing, but also what's important, that your billing system also needs to be able to act upon that. And that's what Praneeth will show after this. So the other thing I want to change here is that, sorry, not the Team Edition, but the Premier Access and the Sales Corporate. That's something I want to renew. And of course, I just did this, a couple of minutes ago. Normally you would do this at the end of that subscription. But in this case, I'm going to do it right now. So those two will also be added to the cart. And then the last thing I'm going to do, that configuration, that bundle that I created, we also need to change something in that. So I'm selecting that Team Edition, select Change over here. What it will do now, it will bring the old bundle that I had with all the selections in the cart. And you will see that little wrench over here that I select. That means I'm going to the configuration. And this is how we basically left off last time. I can make any change I want to make, even if this is a much more complicated configuration. In this case, I want to keep it simple. I just add that additional file storage in it, and I will go back to my cart. And I'm here now complete. I'm done. I've done with everything. And of course, it only will, for example, in the Teams edition, the bundle, it will price only the delta. And also you see, because I terminated that access point, you see the negative 499 over there. I'm going to finalize this. And for time's sake, I'm not going through the whole process again. I'm going to use a shortcut in here. I'm going to say, I already presented this, generated it, etc. So quick shortcut. All what I need to do now is accept this the quote that we sent out. Customer accepted it. I'm going to select here, accept. Same thing happened, but last time this quote is now transferred into an order. And here I see it. And this is my part of the demo. But again, this I think is a key part of it. And the best part of it is now in billing, because billing was able to handle these changes that I made as well. So I will stop sharing, and Praneeth will take over and show you what happened in billing.
Perfect. Thanks, Matthew. And I'm going to reshare my screen.
And while Praneeth is sharing, he has been very busy in our Q&A chats, answering all of your questions while we go, making sure you guys get the most from the demo here. So definitely check out Praneeth's answers there. And if there's anything that you need further chats in, please keep adding those questions. We're more than happy to answer them.
All right. So here is the code that Matthew created in order to do different actions, everything in one shot without having to create multiple codes. So that's a great feature of Conga CPQ system. And again, in the process, the engine created one more order. Again, this time the order is 143. Like how I did previously as a sales operations specialist, I can go to my orders dashboard, and then again, I can view that order from there, or I can access it from the code depending upon my permissions. Now here, we don't have all the order line items, but only a few, because that is where those are the assets on which the ABO actions are performed. Again, please note this down. The actions are performed against the assets that were created in the past. So how this is going to help the revenue lifecycle aspects means, again, if I bring your attention to, let's say, the team addition asset line item, right? If I, right now, before refreshing the screen, here you see only like one, but the moment I refresh or point out my mouse over there, you see that the asset transaction shows it as 2 records. So using order 142, it got created for the first time. That is what it says. And using order 143, it got amended. So, however, the asset remained the same, right? So the Salesforce record ID that got created in the process, that remained the same. So regardless of any number of codes that you use or any number of orders that you create in the process of, let's say, amendment, multi-amendment, renewal, multi-renewal, throughout the life cycle of that particular product or service, everything will be tracked under this particular asset. And how do we know from a revenue perspective? So again, if I scroll down a little bit, there are a lot of fields available on this asset. So what happened is the overall revenue from the new sale as well as from the amendment, everything got accrued under TCV. Likewise, if I, let's say, go back to the access point, now in this case, what happens is it got created from the new sale, but whereas it got cancelled from the second order. Again, if you go to the TCV, it is $0. Why it is $0? If you look into the billing schedule, so initially it created a net sales revenue of $499, and we even invoiced it. But then unfortunately, ABC Corporation opted to cancel it, and therefore the Conga billing has created one more billing schedule, negating that sales revenue of $499 with negative $499. And you can easily guess, if it were to go through the invoicing process, a credit memo will be created out of the box. And because the net revenue is $0, therefore, at the asset line item level, now you see that the overall TCV, which is nothing but total contract value for this particular product or service, it has become $0. So this is how Conga billing is smartly able to understand the action that you are performing, and then it is able to create the subsequent billing schedules. Let's see one more asset line item. Let's probably focus on, let's say, Premier plus Admin Success Plan. In this case, what happened was it got created from order 142 for the first time, and then it got renewed through order 143. So if I look into the billing schedules, so you can see that initially it created everything from 2024 until the end of 2025. But because of the renewals, the engine automatically created from 12/20/25 to the end of to December 19, 2026 for one more year. So again, the billing schedules are created with the corresponding amount. So, and there is one more asset that I wanted to show you, which is the Steam edition. This is where Matthew has performed an amendment operation. There is a small difference here. In this case, what happened to the billing schedules is, please note that this is a change operation where the things got changed from the middle of the right from the contract cycle. This is not a renewal. So here, what the engine has done is, for all those periods where the things got changed, it superseded the old billing schedules. That means those billing schedules are no longer valid. Let's say if I take February or March for that matter, and if you look into it, instead of $30, the fee now became $15 because Matthew added one more component to that particular bundle, because of which there is an increment in the price. So because the old price is no longer valid, Conga engine has superseded or cancelled it, and then it recreated one more billing schedules. So whenever you send this particular billing schedule to invoice, the superseded will be skipped, and only the pending billing schedule will be picked up and it will be invoiced. And for the month of December and January, since they have already been invoiced, the engine has created only the billing schedules with the corresponding delta amount, because this is not full. Instead of 45, you see only 15, because $30 are already invoiced. So this is how Conga billing as an engine will be able to understand the different actions that a sales rep performs on the upstream systems like CPQ, and it is able to receive, and it is able to smartly understand the statuses, understand the pricing differences, and then accordingly be able to auto adjust on its own without doing any manual intervention. So that is about the power of Conga billing and in conjunction with Conga CPQ, in order for you to show you the revenue lifecycle management aspects. That's all from my side. Back to you.
Thank you, Praneeth. Just give me one sec.
No, that was an awesome presentation. And I think to leave you guys here, Matthew, what are some key takeaways from us? And then I'll jump in and kind of talk about the power of Conga and synthesis with our last 5 minutes here.
Okay, thank you. So what is really important if you want to be a player and want to be a part of that subscription economy, it is really important that you have the right systems to support it. And what I mentioned earlier, I think CPQ and billing are the key or the heart of that. And it's not only that, but they really need to work together really well, because everything that I did in CPQ had pricing consequences, what you saw, and they need to be able to be consumed in the right way by the billing system. So every functionality that you have in CPQ needs to be reflected in billing, and also the other way around. And also what you see is here we did everything in once, but that whole process, that whole quote to cash process, where I create, where I start, in this case, I started in Salesforce, create a quote, do the signature, create I call it a document, send it to the customer, get that signature, create an order, go to the billing, all in one system. And it would be really good if that's all seamlessly integrated with each other. I think that are the key things. And of course, us from Synthesis and with Conga's revenue lifecycle solutions, we're definitely here to help you with that endeavor.
Thanks, Matthew. Yeah, and I want to drive home that last point and really talk about how this is a solution and a strategy that businesses have been going through for ages and ages, and it's becoming more important. And the real strength here is of that Conga and Synthesis partnership, right? Between Conga's revenue lifecycle management solutions and Conga CPQ, when it's implemented and supported by our partners at Synthesis, who are platinum partners who've in-depth experience in the Conga revenue lifecycle application, your process is just going to be more seamless. It's going to be easier. It's going to be automated, and you're really just going to thrive in that industry and in that in your CPQ and billing journey. So we're really grateful to have you guys join us today. That seamless integration is key. Exactly, Carl. Thank you for that shout out. Thank you for all of your great questions. And if there's any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A chat. I know we're at time here, but we're happy to keep answering those via email and Teams. And I am happy to hand it over here to Eduardo to send us on home. And just thank you guys again for joining us.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you so much. This was fantastic. I took so many notes, I'll have to cut them down for my follow-up email, which audience, you will hear from me later today with the recording for this amazing session. So if you missed something, you're going to have it handy later today, and all the key takeaways and information on what Conga and Synthesis have to offer you. So you will have this knowledge when you need it the most. Speakers, Matthew, Praneeth, and Tessa, thank you so much. That was fantastic. Very good presentation, very good key takeaways. And I will see you next time. Thank you all so much for joining Modern Sales Pros today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.